I'm just noticing, taking in all the people here. We started out this conference, this is our 5th year, and we started out with 325 people in what seems now like a very small place in a Mountain View. And I remember one of the few people I told about it is Roshi Joan, who's actually sitting in the front row. And I said, I had this idea. We were up at her hermitage, which is like way up in the mountains in New Mexico. And I said, I had the idea to bring together wisdom teachers and technology leaders. And what do you think about it? And she said, I'll be there. So then I knew I had one person to show up. And then I remember going to ask this other guy named Chris Saka, who is a techie and an investor. And I didn't know him very well. And I told him the idea. And he said, I'll be there. And he didn't ask who else would be there at the time, fortunately. And it started out just as this real kind of seed that's grown over the years. And today there's 20 countries represented, so there's people from all over the world here. There's about 2,000 of you from all different walks of life. And people have asked me, why do you think this interest continues to grow? And I think there's a hunger in our world today for true contact and true connection. And that the connection that our devices give us, while useful and helpful to some degree, they give us information and they give us knowledge, but they don't give us wisdom. And my guess is a lot of you are drawn here today because you're interested in living and having an experience of wisdom, not just simply more information, more data. And in a world where we can get so much data all the time, from new tweets to new Facebook updates to new texts to new emails, we're often inundated. And I think there's this deep hunger that's existing inside of us that wants a more of an authentic connection. And so we come to events like this, not only to hear great talks and great sessions, which I hopefully will have, but to also have an experience in community of what it means to live wisely and compassionately and mindfully in a culture where that seems to be more and more difficult to do. And I think a lot of us are realizing that our society is definitely going to continue to grow technologically. The external technologies of our day are continuing to get faster, snazzier, better. But the real question is whether the inner technologies, whether the technologies of wisdom, of compassion, of awareness, are going to grow as well. And I think many of us sense, I definitely sense, that the world that we're going to be creating, it's essential that those qualities exist just as much as we advance on the technological side. And I'm sure I see every day, and I notice in myself, this tendency to kind of be constantly connected through a device and yet missing that genuine human contact. So my encouragement for these next couple days that we're all together here is to find, because I know that we come in part to hear great talks, but we also come in part for community and connection. So my encouragement to all of you is to join the hosted conversations whenever you're pulled, or if you see somebody who's like slightly interesting or that you want to connect with, feel free to reach out to them. Most people here are pretty open. And this experience that we have with the hosted conversations and the Inspiration Village is in part because we know that while you love to be listeners and hear talks, you also want to connect and engage. So we've set up an environment for that. Next, I want to introduce you to a little bit of who's in the room, and I have a few slides to show you. So we created something called Community Pages at the Wisdom 2.0 community because we wanted to give you guys a sense of who else is coming into the space. So as I mentioned before, over 20 countries, 2,000 people, over 2,000 people. And we asked you what your interests are, and we had a word cloud. And there were 6 words that were expressed more than any other word. And the first was compassion. So these were all in the top tier. Second was meditation, mindfulness, technology, travel, yoga. So basically, you're a bunch of people who like to do meditation and yoga while you travel. I'm for it too. And then on the second tier, these were listed less, but is applying mindfulness at work, authentic leadership, creativity, education, emotional intelligence, entrepreneurship, innovation, love, nature, social media, spirituality. So what we did is we took all the names that people did and highlighted them. Now there were a few that were only mentioned once. So we had one of you, I can't remember the person's name, list as her, I think it was her, main interest is vegan cupcakes. Another one said my new hot tub was a big passion of hers. Fixing my daughter's hair in the morning is where she gets meaning. And someone else said their huge interest right now is their dog. And so here's a few of the people who are in the room. There's Yakov, and we asked on the community pages, why are you here? And he said, I wanted the opportunity to travel halfway across the world to spend time with good people. So he's traveled halfway across the world, and I think we can all guess that there's good people for him to meet. And you can see some of his interests there. So if you share some of these interests, you can look out for him. 7,460 miles. We also have Natalie, who is coming from Minnesota. And when we asked her why she was coming, she said, do you ever feel deeply drawn to do something without having a clear reason why? Signing up for Wisdom 2.0 was one of those moments. Knowing little about it beyond the name, I felt compelled to purchase a ticket then and there. So Natalie's with us. I don't know if she brought her hula hoop, but keep a lookout. Kalama traveled all the way from Oakland, and he's very interested in leveraging technologies that close the divides rather than widening them. Is the most compassionate innovation. So if you're interested in that or want to connect with him, he's here. Jun Yu is coming all the way here from Korea, 5,610 miles. She's implementing a Search Inside Yourself program in Korea, and she wants to play a role there in promoting the spirit of Wisdom 2.0 and meeting great people. So she also traveled a long distance to be here. Gio, whose last name I can't pronounce, so I'm not going to try, he's coming from Israel and said, I think it's one of the best conferences on the planet, technology, ethics, spirituality, and awesome people combined in one place. What can you ask for? I don't know if he's wearing his Superman shirt, but you should be able to recognize him pretty easily. Justine is coming all the way from Portland, and she's interested just in connecting with like-minded people, ideas and inspiration for developing mindfulness-based programs for the corporate sector. So those are some of the people here today. We could only highlight 6. I think there was about 2,000 of you, and maybe 600 people actually filled up those community pages. One of the questions we asked people before they registered was, how many have been to a conference before of Wisdom 2.0? So of the 2,000, we were expecting actually more than half to have said yes to that. And what we found was that about 1,200 or 1,300 of you have never been to a Wisdom 2.0 conference before. So you're actually brand new. So that either means we're really good at attracting new people or really bad at keeping old people. Or maybe a little bit of both. But there's a lot of you who are new. So to help address that, I have a short little exercise I want to do. And I want you to turn to the person on your right, if you can. So we'll start here. So if you turn to the person on your right. And if you're at the end, if you can raise your hand. And we just want to give you a second to connect with person. And what's that? So please just introduce yourself. And if you can, say what brought you here? What brought you to the conference? So I had no idea that people were wanting to talk so much. We do have hosted conversations for all of you, but at least we accomplished our objective. So anybody who came here completely alone and not knowing a soul, actually, how many people came here not knowing anybody? Could you raise your hand? Wow. So it takes a lot of courage to show up at a conference where you don't know anybody, and particularly on kind of like a weird topic. So I want to welcome you and also say that actually as of now, you at least know one other person. And that we have volunteers who are wearing Wisdom 2.0 t-shirts who are happy to help you. So thank you again for coming. It's really awesome to see all of you here. Part of it for me, when I first started this, I wonder if we could ever do a really big conference. You know, like those tech conferences are, where like thousands of people come together. And I think we've reached that point where thousands of people now come together, not to talk about, to actually talk about wisdom and compassion and awareness. And so it's really touching for me to see all of you here and to be able to welcome you. And just so you know, whatever you're in exactly the right place. You wore just the right clothes. I don't know how you decided to wear what you wore, but it's just the right clothes. You're sitting next to just the right person you need to be sitting next to. So from now on, we can relax, it's smooth sailing, and enjoy the show. Thank you.